This time I'd like to call the council meeting to order. If you'll please stand with me for invocation and pledge of allegiance. If you'll pray with me. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for your love and your mercy, for the many blessings that you've given York County. We have so much to be thankful for. Great people, vast resources, and tremendous opportunities for growth and prosperity. In Proverbs, you tell us where there is no vision, the people perish. We have big decisions to make as a council over the next couple of months. I pray that our decisions would reflect your greater vision, that the needs of our community would always come first, and that decisions would be fair to all. Please watch over our men and women in uniform, protect them and their families, bless them for their sacrifice. I pray for wisdom and guidance tonight as we do the business of the people. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, if the following individuals would come forward for the oath of office for boards and commissions: Leah Woodward, Sam Leslie, Marion Ramsey, Brian Musgrave, Jessica Smith, Heather Osborne, and Walter Martinson.
Tradition, council like to say a few words of thanks. You approach Councilman Hamilton afterwards. We'll shake their hands. You raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I do solemnly swear. That I am duly qualified. Under the Constitution of this state. To exercise the duties of the office. Which I have done. That I will. To the best of my ability. Discharge the duties thereof. And preserve, protect, and defend. The Constitution of this state. Of the United States. So help me God. Congratulations. Thank you so much. You've done it, sir.
Chief, thank you for serving. Yeah, I know. Thank you for serving. Hey there. Thank you for serving, sir. Hey, thank you for serving. Thank you for serving.
I see we're still hanging in there. Appreciate you, sir. Appreciate
Thank you for serving in more ways than one.
Hey, how you doing?
He's a vet too, so.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your email. I haven't had a chance to respond.
Appreciate you, sir.
Thank you for serving.
Enjoy it. Appreciate you serving.
At this time, under appearances, if Patrick Hamilton would come forward to give us the update on the quarterly pennies for progress update.
I don't think you heard it.
Yeah, I don't even know.
Good evening, Council. I'm here to give another quarterly update. I do have a little bit more information to get into tonight, but feel free to interrupt me at any point to ask any questions, and of course, we'll have questions at the end as always as well. So first, I'll do a quick run through of the projects we have under construction. Cherry Road, as hopefully you know, Cherry Road is finished. I think it turned out to be a very nice looking project. A lot of the complaints we heard from the public is that it took so long. But I do want to remind the council and the public that this was not a traditional resurfacing project. We had to dig down 13 inches and excavate all that and put 13 inches back in place, all while maintaining traffic out there. So it was a pretty in-depth resurfacing project, but overall, I think it turned out nice. Highway 160 West in Fort Mill, 5-lane widening project from just south of Zoll Road to the state line. This picture is looking towards North Carolina. We've talked with the contractor today. They are planning to do some paving work on Saturday, and this would hopefully enable them to be able to shift traffic at some point next week or the week after, shift traffic to the portion of the project you see here, so then they can begin working on the storm drain and curb and gutter on the opposite side of the road. The Highway 274 Pole Branch Road, this is the 274 bridge. Will eventually be a 5-lane bridge, but as you can see, they're only going to be building about half the bridge, and they'll switch traffic over to the new bridge, tear down the old bridge, and build the remaining portion of that bridge there. This is also on that project. This is Pole Branch Road. This is in the section that is currently being detoured right now. As you can see the crane there, they're working on that bridge. They've also installed the majority of the storm drain pipe within that closed section, so the work there is progressing along pretty well. Anderson Cohen Farm intersection realignment project. This is looking towards the City of Rock Hill Operations Center. This project has been a little bit behind schedule, but it is scheduled to be wrapped up in the spring. This is a picture on Main Street. The new intersection is kind of up there in the middle over to the right. So they are having to do some widening work out on the main road as well. Gold Hill I-77. You can see a good bit of clearing done there for the off-ramp. The majority of this work is being done at night due to the lane closure restrictions. US 321 Barrett Connector Road. This is a new connector road in Clover. This is looking back towards Barrett Road. You can see they've got it graded out. Should be starting some stone soon. And this is another picture looking the opposite direction towards Gwynn Street. So you can see the culvert has been installed down there and the backfilling around it. So that project's moving along, scheduled for a June completion date. Okay, now there are a handful of Pennies 3 projects in the right-of-way acquisition. These are the same 5 projects that I talked about last time. 557, that one is much further along. That was the only thing. There's only 1 track remaining. We have 95% plans getting ready to be submitted to DOT for review. 21, 160, Riverview, and 72 are all smack dab in the middle of the right-of-way acquisition phase. So what I wanted to do tonight, I haven't done it yet, is kind of go through and list every single project on Pennies 4 and tell you where we are today with it. We always talk about kind of the milestones of construction or right-of-way acquisition, but I kind of want to go through project by project on Pennies 4 and kind of show you where we are today. Cell River Roads, this is a 5-lane widening down to Dave Lyle Boulevard. We are working towards right-of-way plans and should have those hopefully in May. Also a part of that project is extending Galleria Boulevard behind the mall to tie into Cell River Road. That project is going to be bid and built separate from the major widening on Cell River, and we are finalizing right-of-way plans, starting the right-of-way acquisition on that project, and our intent is to try to bid the Galleria portion by the end of the year for construction. Fort Mill, Southern Bypass, Spratt, Sutton Roads, that runs from I-77, 5-lane widening, across 21, down Spratt Street, along the Parkway, up to the bridge over the railroad tracks. 30% plans have been received, so we're taking a look at those now, and then those will be submitted to DOT for review as well. Highway 557, 3-lane widening from Ridge Road down to Highway 55. We are working towards 30% plans and expect to have those later in this spring. Hubert Graham Way Extension. This is tying into the Windhaven development in Tega Cay. We have just started right-of-way acquisition on that project. There's only a handful of tracks on that project, so we're hoping we can wrap those up within a decent amount of time and hopefully bid that project for construction by the end of this year as well. Highway 49, 274, 557, major intersection in Lake Wiley. This is adding dual left turn lanes to all legs of the intersection. 70% plans have been submitted to DOT and are being reviewed. We do expect some comments back in the next week or two on that project. Highway 321, Kings Mountain Road, just down the road here. Final plans have been reviewed by DOT. We're going back and forth trying to iron out a few wrinkles and few details in that project. We're hoping to be ready to bid hopefully in March or April. Moving on, continuing on, US 21 Springdale. This is an interchange, kind of in the Talbot region. We have 30% plans that are being looked at now, and those will be submitted to DOT here shortly. Sutton Road intersection improvement. This is at New Gray Rock, Sam Smith, and Harris Road on Sutton Road. We are working towards the right-of-way plans, and I'm going to get into some more details on this project here momentarily. Flint Hill Community Drainage Project. This is off Heckle Boulevard, a series of roads in that area that is prone to flooding. We have submitted 30% plans, received comments back from DOT. We're in the process of setting up a public information meeting on this project this spring. Hopefully April timeframe. We'll iron out the exact date coming up here shortly, but I guess it could be March or April is what we're targeting. Celanese, Cherry, Cell River intersection. We're working towards right-of-way plans on that project. That's a little intersection improvement, adding some dual turn lanes at that intersection. Highway 21 turn lanes, these are the offset left turn lanes along the 4-lane divided section of Highway 21. Those are under construction. I think 1 or 2 of them may have already been built, but the others are under construction and should be wrapped up this spring. Bate Harvey Road, this is a shoulder widening project in Clover. It's actually advertised for bid today, and we will be opening bids in March on that project. And last but not least, Highway 21, a 5-lane widening from Springfield Parkway down to 160. Working towards 30% plans and hope to have those later this spring to be able to submit to the DOT. Now also in Penny Sore, as y'all are aware, is the resurfacing projects in there. We have 3 resurfacing bids that are scheduled to be let, which means the bid will be open in March. SCDOT is managing 2 of those projects. The county is managing 1. I'm not going to read through every single road up there, but you can see the list of roads up there that are spread throughout the county. And now the Sutton New Gray Rock Sam Smith intersection. I want to spend a few minutes on this to kind of bring y'all up to speed on this project and what all's been going on. So we are having a public information meeting this Thursday at the Baxter YMCA. So this is the existing conditions out there now. I know y'all can see the image on your screen, but I am going to ask you if y'all can look to the drop down to my left. I have I guess your right, my left, I have an arrow. I'd like for y'all to kind of follow along with where I'm pointing and what I'm talking about. If y'all could look over here behind you. So this is Sutton Road here. You got Baxter up on this end, I-77's down here. This is New Gray Rock Road, and this is Sam Smith Road. So the issue out there is there's a heavy left turn movement onto New Gray Rock and a heavy left turn movement onto Sam Smith Road. And what ends up happening is both sides get backed up if people are trying to turn left and nobody can turn. So there's definitely some turn lanes that are needed out there. So in preparing for this project, that's kind of light to see, but basically what we were planning to do was add a left turn lane onto Sam Smith and a left turn lane on to New Gray Rock to, accommodate the turning movements that are happening out there. We're also adding left and right separate turn lanes onto New Gray Rock, or off of New Gray Rock onto Sutton Road as well. So the issue that we were having when we were trying to, provide left turn lanes to both of them is that these New Gray Rock and Sam Smith are so close together, we can't achieve the proper storage lengths that are required. And also due to that, we're also having to reduce, so there's a taper in between the 2 turn lanes. We're having to reduce that taper below the standard of what's required for the speed limit along Sutton Road. So due to those issues, we are proposing to put a cul-de-sac at the end of Sam Smith and remove this asphalt so it no longer will tie in to Sutton Road. And what this allows us to do is be able to get the required 300-foot storage left turn lane on to New Gray Rock Road. So we've heard some concerns from the community in this area about potential cut-through traffic by blocking off Sam Smith Road. Like I mentioned, we have a public meeting Thursday night, so we're going to hear more of their concerns and get into more details of our proposal here. to install a cul-de-sac onto Sam Smith Road. But this is kind of the latest of what's going on with this project, so I kind of wanted to bring you all up to speed. I know Councilman Hamilton, I've spoken with you about this project already. We wanted to bring the full council aware of what's happening with this project and the issues and challenges that we are facing. So also included with this project is a intersection improvement down at Harris Road as well, which is just south of Sutton Road. So again, this is a little lighter, not turning out too well, but essentially we're going to be building a 300-foot left turn lane from Sutton onto Harris Road as well. So all those vehicles that were cutting through on Sam Smith, the intent is for them to come down to Harris Road and be able to use the turn lane down there to get onto Harris Street. Also some separate left turn lanes off of Harris, right turn lane from Sutton onto Harris. So basically adding some turn lanes at all legs of the intersection. So that was a lot of information in a fairly short amount of time, so I'll be happy to answer any questions that any of y'all may have.
Patrick, question.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Will you go back to just the list of resurfacings? I just want to screenshot that real quick while you.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
You got a question?
So different timelines on all of those, but is that all in this year? Or-
The intent is for all those roads to be paved by the end of the year.
Okay.
Yes, that's the intent.
And on, when it says Highway 49, what part of 49 is that?
That is in Sharon,
Okay.
from 211 down to, I can't remember the name of it, but it's a
Okay.
section.
I just wanted to be able to clarify that
South
if
of
somebody
Sharon.
asked me, yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Well, while you're going through your presentation, I made a note on my paper. Is Cherry Road the best road in Rock Hill now? It wouldn't need paving for the next 30 years? Because, like I said, we heard a lot of complaints and concerns, and I was trying to tell people what we were doing out there, and
So-
that road shouldn't need to be touched. That portion shouldn't need to
That
be touched.
road
Probably
should
never
be
30, in the next 30 years.
Now, you'll have to do some overlay and stuff like that
But the
in
subsurface.
time, but the subgrade of it, so we put 9 inches of concrete
Yeah.
in there, plus 4 inches of asphalt on top of that, so.
I think I
that
drove
road
over
shouldn't
it
go
several
anywhere
times.
anytime soon.
That probably can hold a jet landing on Cherry Road right about now. The next thing was, how long did we take to finish up McConnell's Highway? I know it's completed, and glad to see that part, because.
Connell's, that was over 3 years.
I believe you.
Yep, we had a year delay due to utilities, and then we had some contractor delays as well. I will say we did enforce over $200,000 of liquidated damages on the contractor due to him going over his contract time.
So were we on budget, under budget, over budget?
Yes, we will still have put money back in the bank from his
Okay.
from the construction contract.
The last one on my list is 72. I know you were kind of misquoted in the paper, and we made some phone calls, and me and Christie got on the phone like, hey, what's going on? Why we-
I saw
why we
that,
getting
so
bumped again?
I'll go ahead and clarify for everybody. That was from an RFATS meeting I had back in January where I gave an update, and what I was trying to say was it was a little further behind, like 160 East and 557 as far as in the right-of-way acquisition phase. There's no delay, there's nothing holding us up other than just trying to acquire the right-of-way, but my intent was that it was further behind a couple of the other projects that were in the right-of-way acquisition phase, but there's no delay or no issues out there.
No financial issues, no.
No financial,
So we're good.
100% funded.
Good.
And we're moving forward the right away, utility coordination. It's good.
All right, thank you.
Patrick, speaking of RFATs, have you heard anything else about the bypass from Pole Branch?
Have not.
Toward the airport? Remember David mentioned that?
Yeah, I think that's just in the talking stage at this point.
So it's not even, they've not even committed to it yet?
No, it's not a funded project, no, sir. It's just being looked at again.
Mr. Winkler?
You answered one of my questions I was gonna ask about Kings Mountain, and you said that's getting ready to at least be bid, so,
Yes, sir. The intent, again, is for that project to be built by the end of the year.
okay. Is Hunter Street complete yet? I haven't ridden it. I know there was
I
some
rode
section
it-
in the middle that
I
was not
rode
done.
it last week, and it's still not been paved.
Okay.
So DOT is managing that project, and I've been communicating with them. And essentially, it's when they can get some dry weather, they're gonna get in there and pave. I know they were paving a couple weeks ago, and they did, I know the end on Liberty Street has been paved up to a certain point.
And the same thing on the other
On
end, it's the
end,
middle that's the
but
problem.
Yeah,
so.
I drove it last week, and there's still a gap in the middle that still needs to be paved. So I can reach out to DOT and get an update on when that is anticipated.
I know they were out there working on a Saturday or two a while back, so they've been trying to get it done. I know the weather's not cooperating. And I was just gonna say, for any of the constituents that were concerned about how long it took on Cherry Road, they're welcome to call some of my constituents that live on Highway 97 and talk about how long that one took, so,
Certainly.
thank you.
Patrick, I want to thank you for your willingness to participate in the public information meeting coming up on Thursday. Also have a question about Cell River. It looked like that was still in right-of-way acquisition. What's the anticipated completion on that?
So we have not started the right-of-way acquisition phase yet. We
Okay.
hope to have, or we're planning to have right-of-way plans in May. Those will then need to be submitted to DOT for review, get comments back, respond. So we're hoping, the plan is to start right-of-way acquisition by the end of the year. That'll probably be a year and a half process. So maybe in fall of '22, spring of '23 is probably construction.
Will that connect all the way down to the Red River section? That
That'll
was,
go all the way to Dave Lyle. It will not cross Dave Lyle,
okay,
but it'll end at Dave Lyle.
okay. And it'll go from the portion of Red River that was completed up
So, yeah,
to Cell River?
it'll tie
Okay.
in just, I guess, east of Paragon
Gotcha.
and tie all the way down.
Any other questions? I know that Holbrook was pushed up because of some issues. Have you gotten any feedback from SCDOT about whether or
So
not?
that was one where there were issues last spring out there with some hauling and tore the road all to pieces. So we worked with DOT. They did a change order with the contractor to try to get it done last fall. Well, they didn't start as early as they wanted to, and they got kind of caught by the winter weather. So they were able to have to put it on hold. The last I heard, I talked to DOT a week or two ago, and all they could tell me is spring, and they'll get started back. Whether that's beginning of March, end of March, I've just been told spring at this time. But they'll come back in and do the rest of the road. And so I've gotten a couple of phone calls, and we get us an inconvenience. But I guess we were trying to make a push to get it done before last year, but it didn't work out.
Right, I appreciate you doing that. This is the same question I ask every time you come before us, and I think it's one that you anticipate, so I assume you probably know what I'm going to ask you. Are we still moving forward and within budget to make sure that all of the projects that were supposed to be done on these pennies programs are going to be completed?
Yes, again, the Neely Road was the last project on Pennies Forward, and that had an asterisk next to it because that was higher than what the recommended revenue was going to be received. So that project's on hold, but all other 15 projects above it are active projects under design, and we anticipate being able to put all of them.
Great, thank you,
You're
appreciate it.
counting 21 on that.
Yes, sir.
21.
Highway 21 was project 15, so yeah, we're anticipating being able to construct Highway 21 as well.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.
At this time, we have the public forum session, which allows individuals to come and speak for 2 minutes. The only individual that signed up for public forum was Kevin Rufert. I noticed, Mr. Rufert, that you were also on the agenda at the end. We actually have a short meeting, believe it or not. Do you still want to come at the end, because you will have much longer than 2 minutes to be able to? Okay, we'll move forward then. Do I have a motion on the consent agenda?
I'd like to pull out item number 7 under consent, just to get some clarification and get some information on it.
All right, so we'll move number 7 to number 3 of new business.
All right.
Do I have a motion with that amendment on the consent agenda?
I'll move to approve as amended.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Let's see. All right, we move to new business. Number 1, council to approve the reclassification of the water and sewer supervisor, grade 21, to a water and sewer utility manager, grade 28, due to a reorganization of job duties and qualifications. Do we have, I know that one of the questions that I asked, whenever we get these things, typically, especially close to budgetary time, we want to make sure that we're fair to all of the departments and that we don't approve any amendments ahead of the budget time. But I guess I would just like to hear what staff's position is on this, and I guess it does seem self-explanatory in the written memo.
Yeah, I'll be glad to address that. states it's reclassed because we had an employee that retired and took an opportunity to evaluate the market and what that job should pay and the growth in that department. Certainly it's something that the timing is good because we could integrate that into the budget as we go forward. We did spend some time, had the job reclassed, and I think it's at the appropriate level now.
And I noticed that you don't anticipate this being a budgetary issue for that department such that they'll be requesting an increase because of this particular request.
Not for the remainder of this year. No.
Okay. Do we need to have a motion to approve that?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Approved unanimously. New business number 2, council to consider approval of the additional funding in the amount of $30,000 for fiscal year 2020 pay-per-call program for volunteer firefighters.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just to clarify, Andy, this is what we discussed a little, a week or so ago, I guess, that this is to be able to do the pay-per-call as the chiefs requested as far as the dollar amounts and stuff, or David, whichever.
This is the plan that the chiefs endorsed and submitted to us. It does require some additional funding on the part of council because of the benefits that they would actually have to deduct from the $750. So that's why we thought it was appropriate to ask council if you'd like to contribute the additional in order to cover that. And I did look at the capacity to be able to pay that much more going forward, and I think that there's that opportunity.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. Motion carries unanimously. Now we have what was in number 7 of consent. Council to approve payment of FFE storage fees to F3 Concepts of Columbia, South Carolina for a total cost of $40,374 for the storage of furniture associated with the new family court facility and the Moss Justice Center.
I just had a couple questions about the overall project, I guess, as far as us coming in under budget, over budget, and it just jumped out at me of us paying storage fees. How do we get to this position of having to pay storage fees? And it says about some delays. Well, did we ever charge the contractor that was working on the project for any kind of liquid damages that will cover this, or just straight out of our pocket?
Well, we anticipate significant liquidated damages on this project for this and for the other delays that we've experienced, costs for those delays.
Okay.
And this one, I think that's a good question. This one isn't included as part of that, specifically is been identified.
It will be included as part of the liquidated damage.
Gotcha. Any other questions? All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Committee and other reports, I don't believe we have any committee reports. Council member new or non-agenda comments? Mr. Roddy?
I just wanted to follow up. I know we've been working, and it was in the consent agenda. I didn't want to pull anything else out about us doing the rezoning from the UD to the residential. I know I sent an email the other week. I know we were going through the hiring of the county manager about the people over on Blackman Road kind of requested some assurance that this wouldn't affect the wash house and the neighborhood center as far as the rezoners around them. So I was just going to see if we could follow up and get them something that clearly states that, no, this wouldn't affect.
Yes, sir. I think they've had some conversations, but we'll follow up on that and make sure
Okay.
they're satisfied.
Okay.
Dr. Blackwell?
Karen, do we have it straightened out now on the committee meeting?
We're gonna get together.
Oh, never mind. We'll talk later.
Mr. Winkler?
I just wanted to make a comment. I learned this week, and it was either I missed it in a previous vote we had, which I try to usually stay on top of everything, or wanted to see if the rest of the council missed this and maybe ask the county manager to look at it. I got a contact this week from someone who has one of our event centers that we recently approved, or he's been working on starting one up and stuff. And originally, I thought when we did that ordinance, we allowed for them to have a number of practice runs, basically, before they decided whether or not they wanted to spend all the money to set up everything that we require in our zoning to actually do an event center. That was in our original ordinance when we talked about it. And I told the gentleman I thought that was still in there, but I found out it was not. And I know some of us had worked on that ordinance at that time, so I don't know how the rest of the council felt about that, but I wanted to ask if we could maybe that be something we have planning and staff to look at, because I felt like that was a good thing for that ordinance, if somebody, before they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, to put one of those up to see if it even is something they want to do by being able to do a couple of trial runs or something, so. I mean, I found out that's not in the ordinance we did, so.
It probably is something we should add to a zoning or planning committee meeting, just take a look at that. I know it was something that is of interest in my district as well. I thought that we had done, if you had less than 4, then it really didn't rise to the level of having to be
That's what I
done.
thought, but that's, I
We don't
was
have
told
that.
that was not in there, so.
Gotcha. Anybody else? All right, citizen concerns. Kevin Rufert to address council regarding speeding on Molly Circle.
Yes, we've got a major issue of people speeding on Molly Circle. It's clearly labeled at 25 miles an hour. I have clocked people as high as 70. I set up some markers for measured distance, and with my security cameras there on my house, I can actually time it. And I mean, it's been an ongoing thing for a long time. I've lived here 15 years. But it's since they put that traffic circle up on Lincoln Road and Old Limestone, it's gotten worse. And somebody's kid's gonna get killed. I've almost been hit a couple times walking across the street. My neighbor has almost been hit walking to get their mail. It's out of hand. I'm starting the petition. I've already got about 30 people on for the speed tables. I've got people that are questioning, because of the way they talk about it in here, how much it's going to cost us. They don't want to sign until they know what it's going to cost them. Most of them are renters. They don't want to have to plunk out a lot of money. I'm a renter myself, but if I could afford to pay for it myself, I would. My kids are grown, but it's somebody, like I said, somebody's child's going to get killed. And I've been on the sheriff's department for 15 years about it, and we don't. No, in 15 years, I've never seen anybody get a ticket on that street. And it's something that's got to be addressed before somebody's killed.
Mr. Rufert, thank you for your comments.
And Ms. Cox, if I could, I know we don't
Absolutely.
normally speak, but I spoke to you last week, I think it was.
Yes,
I did send an email to the sheriff, who was actually sitting behind you until he left just a minute
Yeah.
ago, but, and asked him to have the deputies patrol that street more often, so I
Yeah,
did follow up and send that.
Three
so.
of the I talked with 3 deputies that they're doing it kind of on their own. They, without any requests, but they're working nights.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, there's some good ones that understand that something's got to be done. Because I'm not the only one. We've had several people on the street call, and everybody agrees that it's gotten worse.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you I just wanted
Absolutely.
to update him on that.
Thank you, Mr. Rufert.
thank you.
Jonathan Ziva to address council regarding Sutton Road, New Gray Rocks, Sam Smith intersection improvements.
All right, thank you very much for letting me come and speak here to you guys. So first of all, my name is Jonathan Ziva. I do live in an area impacted by Patrick's presentation earlier on Sutton, New Gray Rock intersection. So I'd like to start by saying, I do appreciate the public meeting that's going to be held this Thursday. But I do want to point out that that public meeting was set up by us. So we scheduled it, we pushed for that meeting to be scheduled. We sat with Mr. Johnson, who's not here today, at one of his constituent breakfasts just to learn more about the project that we heard through through the grapevine, through another community. I read through the documents. We start to reach out to Patrick, and so our first kind of inclination about this was about the end of December, and we pushed to have this meeting. We set it up, and I kind of just jumped on this agenda because I was told I wasn't going to be able to present at the public forum, and so kind of at Patrick's suggestion, I'm coming here to present to you guys. I wouldn't say I'm fully prepared, only because I would present similar to the way Patrick did on your PowerPoint here, but being a little bit of a novice to this process, I didn't have enough time to kind of throw that together. But I do want to point out a couple of things that I think you guys should consider, just weren't brought up here, and I think will probably be brought up more in depth on Thursday. But I did want to kind of call some things out to your attention. One, the intersection that we're talking about is certainly dangerous, and I appreciate Pennies for Progress addressing it. There's been a lot of accidents on that road. Just this week, a house that's is on Sharon Lee and 160 at that intersection put up his house for sale because he had a car fly through his mailbox. He got 2 young kids, both of them go to school with my kids. He's nervous. He's understandably upset about that intersection, and so addressing that intersection is certainly, I think, a priority, and I think we're doing a good job by addressing it. However, the plan that Patrick is proposing to you guys in closing Sam Smith, in that visual that you guys saw, that there's so many better ways to fix this problem. And like he said, the initial plan was to put a left turn lane onto Sam Smith, a left turn lane onto New Gray Rock. That's fine. I understand why we'd want to do that. The problem is even today, that traffic on Sutton Road gets backed up. In the morning and the afternoon, all the kids from Baxter Village and from Lake Ridge are coming across, are all kind of going into that intersection and heading down to Fort Mill High School. Today, because of that traffic, folks are just flying through our neighborhood, okay? Narrower streets, residential neighborhood, they're already using it as a cut through in order to save themselves time. So I went ahead and I did a simple Google search, and I just looked up in Google Maps, we can all do it. I pulled up how long it would take. I just rerouted somebody starting at my intersection and either going all the way down to Harris like they're proposing, or using Sutton Place, a subdivision of about 198 homes, using that road to now cut through and get down to Sam Smith, because it's a straight shot for them at that point. There's 2 stop signs, and that's the only thing that's stopping them from going ahead and using our street. It's 5 to 7 minutes right now using our neighborhood. It's 6 to 12 minutes on their proposed route, and that's before they're closing Sam Smith. Okay, so nothing is going to be stopping folks from just flying down our streets, and so we address those concerns. Now, here with me today, I brought the HOA president of my community, as well as a member of or a resident of Harvester Avenue, which is the main throughway that folks are going to be using and are using today to cut down and access the Sam Smith Road. The concerns in the community have been documented. We've got about 200 signed petitions that we've given to Mr. Johnson already once. I have been in touch with Joel Hamilton, who is our councilman. I want to work with the folks. I'm not coming here to say, hey guys, this isn't good for my street and we're done. However, I haven't found there's a lot of opportunity or a lot of willingness to kind of come together and come up with an actual solution. Admittedly, I'm not an engineer, okay? So I'm not telling the county what to do, but I just think before we do something like this and before we forever alter these roads and put through traffic through a small subdivision, we just have to think through it, and we have to find other opportunities that we've presented, we have on paper other ways to do this, achieving the same results that they're looking to achieve with that, creating that space that they need for the left turn lane onto New Gray Rock, which seems like that's the priority. But I think that we can do that without flowing all that traffic through this small subdivision. And so with that, I'd ask, if possible, I know I'd like to yield my time and see if my HOA president could come and just present some of those things to you guys.
I don't have any issue with that.
No objection?
I don't have any, that's fine.
My name's Joe Kaminsky. Thank you for having us. I would just like to ask, as Jonathan mentioned, that we were kind of caught by surprise. We would like to present in a similar format, if we could, at the council. Is that something that we could do, showing some of
If you sign up, you have time at the end, and
At
you're
the
able
next-
to
I'm
do that.
sorry,
You just
at
need
the
to get
next-
your information.
at maybe the next meeting that you?
Yeah, and I mean, it sounds to me, typically what this forum is for is simply for you to provide information. And while it certainly does create a record, I think that the meeting that you're going to have this week will give you an opportunity to put down on paper your comments. It's not going to be completely, you will have an opportunity, all the ones that I've seen, you have an opportunity to put your comments down on paper. And I see Patrick shaking his head yes. So I mean, I do think at any time you have the right to come and speak before council and to make a presentation if you want to do that. You just need to contact the clerk to council to set that up.
Okay. Could I request that at least the status of where things go, once we have that meeting, that we're kept in the loop on what's happening? Because, again, we have 198 residents, especially on that Harvester Road. It's a downhill road. There's been talk of speed bumps or speed tables that could be put in, but it's not going to stop the volume. Once the light goes in at that corner there, everybody coming up New Gray Rock has got a clear chute right into our community, and there's not really too much we can do about it. And it's the road, the condition of the roads are not really being kept up. We're hearing that York County does not have enough personnel to, properly monitor the stop signs they're already going through. So, yeah, if that's, we just ask you to take that under consideration and just stay plugged into really what the plans are. Again, this was something that came, a meeting that happened in Lake Ridge that we had friends that heard about, and had we not spoke up, I don't know if we could have. I'm not even sure if we're not too late, right? So we're just happy to get in early in the plans and work together with the folks, so thank you.
Thank you for your comments, and I would encourage you to communicate with Patrick directly. He's doing a really good job for us at the county, and he's good with communication as well. Do I have a motion for executive session?
Yes, move we go into executive session for a contractual matter involving county manager contract and for contractual matter of the Rock Hill TIF.
Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. We will move into executive session now. Council just came out of executive session. Do we have any motions?
Yes, a motion to approve employment agreement with the county manager and to notify HR of today's effective date.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Passes unanimously. Do we have any other motions?
Yes, motion to defer first reading of the ordinance authorizing the amendment to the intergovernmental agreement that was to be voted on after executive session tonight to a special called meeting this coming Monday night so that we can get the audited presentation that we were not able to get tonight.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Motion passes unanimously. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Second. We are adjourned.